look at the ownership and see who owns it, and that's who owns the program. The person that owns the core file is the same person that owns the program that crashed. All right? And then the other thing that you can do is use the GDB program. Now, the GDB program is a super complicated program. It's the GNU Debugger. And this is an invaluable program to people writing like C programs and stuff like that. But as a system administrator, if you're just trying to figure out like what program created this core file, then what you can do is you can run GDB, you can say -C followed by the name of the core file. And then that'll tell you what program created the core file. So maybe it's like owned by root or something because it's some system service. But you know, if you find out what service that is, then you can say, okay, well, Joe is in charge of this service, so I'm going to give him that core file and let him decide whether he wants to look at it. And if he doesn't, then he can delete it. Okay? But you shouldn't go around, like I said, you shouldn't go around and recklessly just delete core files to get disk space back because maybe somebody's using one. So the lesson here is, you know, use GDB, look at the ownership, and pass the core file on to the appropriate party. And if it's not necessary, every time you delete a core file, you're going to gain back, you know, leaps and bounds worth of disk space. So the last thing I want to talk about before we wrap up this nugget is the cron program. If we do a man on cron, you can see that it's a daemon to execute scheduled commands. So it's a daemon, meaning it's always running, but it's in the background, right? And basically cron's like always sleeping. And it wakes up like every minute, and it checks the etc cron tab file to see if it has anything to do that minute. And if it doesn't, then it goes back to sleep. It wakes up a minute later, it checks the etc cron tab file, sees if there's anything to do. If it doesn't, it goes back to sleep, and so on. All right? Now, when there is something for it to do, it executes that program, and then it goes back to sleep, and then that program just runs. Now, the programs that cron tab will run will be like, you know, there's no human intervention to these programs. They're just like some command that you run, like, you know, a classic example would be like an incremental backup. You want to do your incremental backup, say, like every night at, you know, 2:30 in the morning, because nobody's using the system then, so you can do it and it won't affect anybody. Right? And that's the perfect time to do it, but you don't want to have to wake up every night at 2 in the morning, log into your system, and do an incremental backup. So that's where the cron program comes in. You just set cron up, you set this etc cron tab file up so that it executes your backup script every night at 2:30 in the morning. And then you're getting work done while, you know, you're home in bed, okay, sleeping. Right? And that's exactly what we want with regularly scheduled events. We want them to run at these regular intervals. We don't want to have to remember to run them or be inconvenienced by running them at these odd hours. All right, so let's look at the format of the etc cron tab file, and then we'll learn how to get commands in there to do what we want to do at the hours and days and weeks that we want to do them. And you can even be more fancy, if you want to say, with the times over here, so that you can do things like different schedules than just hourly, daily, weekly, and monthly. Say I want to do something like 3 times a day. How could I do that? Well, I can do that by using the format like this. I can say 02 for 2 minutes after the hour, and then I could say 4, 12, 20. Okay? And that would do it at 4:02, it would do it at 2 minutes after noon, and it would do it at 8:02. Okay? This is like military time. All right? And then if I said star, 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 that would do it on every day of the month, every month of the year, every day of the week. And it would do it 3 times a day. All right? And that's one extra flexibility. A comma-separated list does it at all those different times. Another thing that I can do is I could say */10. All right? Star, 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 star. What this would do is this would do something every 10 minutes. The slash is like an interval. All right? So this is saying at every 10 minutes on every day of the every hour of the day, every day of the month, every month of the year, and so on, I'm going to run some particular script. All right? So, like I said before, the hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, these are just names, and the real indication of how often something runs is over here on the left in the time designations. All right? So if I had */10 in this hourly thing, you know, even though it's called hourly, it would actually run every 10 minutes. Now, if you as a user are going to change, you know, you want to run some particular cron script, you have some backup script that you want to run, or you have something else that you want to run, if you want to run it on this schedule, like daily, you can just go ahead and put that script in the etccron.daily directory, and then it's going to run at 4:02 every morning. All right? But if there's something that you want to run at some different intervals, say you want to run something on the 15th of every month, or you want to run something at you know, some other interval besides the ones that are listed here, well, you could just follow this format, edit the etc cron tab file, put a new line at the bottom, and follow this format and create a directory called like etccron.special or something, and then put the scripts in the cron.special directory that you want to run on your special schedule. All right, and it's as easy as that to get the system cron tab updated. You just edit that file, make it say what you want to say, and then put your scripts in the appropriate places. It's time to wrap up another nugget. This was the nugget on maintenance issues. And first we talked about backups. We talked about the different types of media that you could use. We talked about the tar program. We learned how to make a tar file and also how to extract files out of a tar file. And you know, this is probably the way to go, especially if you have your own computer and you're only backing stuff up for yourself. But you know, if you are the system administrator for a network of like, 100 computers or something big like that, then tar is not going to be the way to go. And instead what you should do is you should check out this program. It's called Amanda. Now, this is an acronym. I know I'm not going to get this perfectly right. It stands for like the Advanced Maryland something Network Disk Archive. Okay, and this is like this graphical interface that what it will do is, you can do it all graphically, set up what directories on what computers you're going to back up, and it's just like one central program that takes care of that. Instead of you having scripts out on all these different machines that you want to back up, it's a much nicer, smoother way to take care of that situation. And then we moved on and talked about monitoring our RAM usage, our swap space usage, how much disk usage we had. And we also talked about how to create a new swap file if you need to do that for some stopgap measure. And finally, we talked about the Cron program, which is a way to automate all of these tasks on some daily or weekly basis. Okay? And the Cron program can run whatever you want. It can run backup scripts. It could run some monitoring script if you wanted to check out your swap space usage at 2 in the morning. You could have some little script that did that, and Cron could run it. All right, and you could check out the results in some log file the next morning. All right, so this is the basics of maintenance issues. We'll touch on maintenance issues and other nuggets for sure. I hope you found this nugget informative, and thanks for viewing.